Alright, as we already know, Cyrene is a character that we are really looking forward to in the upcoming version. How could it not? This character gives different buffs to teammates that include Chrysos Heir such as Castorice, Mydei, Phainon, and others. Although she is predicted to be a key character to be able to improve the performance of all characters from Crysos Heir, she still has a pretty good value for other characters universally. So, will Cyrene, who is one of the important characters in the Amphoreus, be the character we have to take in version 3.7? Without further ado, I'm Hoyostation and we will go straight to the ultimate guide for Cyrene version 3.7. Let's do this. Do you have a character or weapon in the game that you really want but you don't have enough stellar jades? Here's a smarter way to recharge your favorite games like Genshin Impact and honkaistarrail. Look no further than Lootbar. Lootbar is the most reliable top-up platform. It saves up to 23% for all orders compared with the official channel, and it provides an 80% off for your first purchase. It's 100% safe as you will only be using your UID. We will buy pack for 30,000 stellar jades for $42, which otherwise would have costed $50. Totally saving $7.5. We received the crystals we purchased in the less than 3 minutes. All recharges will be done through the official channel with miHoyo, which allows you to enjoy all top-up offers. Ready to level up your gaming experience? Check the link in the description to get the amazing discount. Okay, first we will discuss her basic attack, which has two versions, namely the normal version and the enhanced version. For the normal version named Low, Hope Takes Flight, it has an effect like a basic attack character in general. However, this basic attack will give you one recollection point that can be used to activate special mechanics on your ultimate. Also, this basic attack is scaling to HP, so the bigger your HP, the better damage to enemies. As for the enhanced version, which is called To Love and Tomorrow, it has a significant difference from the normal version, where this basic attack will give attacks to all enemies as well as 3 recollection points. But the thing you have to notice, unlike the normal version, this basic attack will not give skill points at all, so you have to pay attention to the number of skill points that you have. Oh yeah, as an additional info, this basic attack can only be used after Cyrene enters the ripples of past reverie state through her ultimate. So, at the beginning of the battle, this enhanced version of the skill will not be able to activate immediately. Okay, this time we will move on to her skill. Her skill has the name Bloom, Elysium of Beyond. Well, this skill has a similar effect to the MEMOSPRITE skill for RMC, called Let Me Help You, where both of them give an additional one-time true damage when attacking enemies. However, this skill has some differences. The first difference lies in the number of teammates that can be given, where Cyrene's skill will affect all team members, while RMC's skill only affects one target teammate. Of course, this effect will make other team members who are not main DPS can contribute additional damage. Then the second difference lies in the damage multiplier of the true damage produced. Cyrene gives 24%, with a difference of 4% from RMC, which has a 28% damage multiplier. Well, this number does not make Cyrene worse than RMC, because she can give these buffs to all the characters on the team. So the difference between the two is quite significant. Plus, this value can still increase if we have her EIDOLON too. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, now we will move on to the ultimate part of her, called Verse Vow, which has the first activation requirement, which requires 24 recollection points. The unique thing about this ultimate is that in addition to being able to summon a MEMOSPRITE that is her own memory, this ultimate will instantly activate all of her teammates' ultimates, as well as make Cyrene enter the ripples of past reverie state. Her basic attack will also be strengthened into her enhanced version. Interestingly, when entering this status, Cyrene immediately gets a 50% critical rate and her skill zone has no duration, as known as permanent. As for the second version of the ultimate, which is called Reunion at First Sight, it can be activated after the activation of the first ultimate. This ultimate will make her MEMOSPRITE get a turn. Since her MEMOSPRITE don't have a turn on the action bar, this is the only way to make her MEMOSPRITEs get a turn. Alright, now we will discuss her talent called Hearts Gather as One. This talent provides information about the mechanism of the ultimate, where Cyrene herself will get one recollection point from one teammate who has a future. Of course, with this information, we can predict the composition of the best team, where teammates who have MEMOSPRITEs will benefit greatly from this information, because MEMOSPRITE will also have a feature that automatically gives additional recollection points and make her able to trigger her ultimate faster. Oh yeah, in this talent, Cyrene can also give a 20% increase in damage dealt to all teammates, while Cyrene is on the field. This effect will be active without a time limit, so the damage generated by all teammates will be permanently increased. And next, we will discuss about her technique, called Peace at West Wind's End. This technique has quite interesting effects, guys, where this technique will provide additional speed to the characters we control. Well, this increase in movement speed can be used to do exploration to save time, similar to the technique possessed by Wei Xiao. Then when entering a battle with a special dimension, Cyrene will immediately create a zone where attacks from team members can immediately provide additional true damage without having to wait for Cyrene's turn to launch skill first, so that we can save more skill points. Okay, now let's move on to the core part of her kit, which is the MEMOSPRITE skill part. Cyrene's MEMOSPRITE herself has 2 MEMOSPRITE skills, to attack and to give buffs. In the MEMOSPRITE skill Minuet of Blooms and Plums, it will deal damage to all enemies. Now what is unique is her MEMOSPRITE's skill called This Ode to All Lives. The point is that this MEMOSPRITE skill can provide special effects depending on which Chrysos Heir character is targeted. As for characters outside of Chrysos Heir, Cyrene will provide a 40% damage increase for 2 turns for one teammate target. I will give a brief explanation of some special effects, which have quite overpowered effects and have the potential to be used frequently. The first character is Mydei. The special effect is called Ode to Strife. This buff is a one-time effect. Well, this effect is very good because Mydei can get one attack of Godslayer Begot for free, with a huge critical damage increase. With this, the damage output of Mydei itself will automatically increase quite drastically, because Godslayer Begot launched through this special effect will not reduce his charge. As for the next character, who is none other than one of the best team members for Cyrene, who else if not Castorice? The effect is called Ode to Life and Death, and it has an active effect during battle. This effect is no less good and very worth it for Castorice, because in some conditions, her new buffs often overflow and are wasted. Therefore, this buff would be great by converting the amount of new buff you get into an increased damage multiplier for the Castorice and her MEMOSPRITE. Oh yeah, the damage generated when the wing gives the finisher attack also increase when there are 2 or fewer enemies on the field. The next character that is suitable to be paired with Cyrene is Phainon, called Ode to World Pairing. This special effect is very interesting, guys, where Phainon will not come out of transformation mode but will refresh the duration of his special turn. In addition, the addition of critical damage and core flame points will greatly help Phainon in accelerating himself into transformation and give higher damage. In addition, Phainon's attack will give you additional fire damage, which is useful for increasing his damage output. The downside of this buff is, although this buff is pretty cool, unfortunately every time he gets a turn, he will lose 15% of his HP, so he potentially can't spend all the extra turns given. The next character that is very valuable and has the potential to become a main DPS with the latest team composition is Evernight. Her effect is named Ode to Time and is active during battle. With this effect, of course, it makes Castorice's team stronger, with an increase in critical damage boost from her skill. Later, Cyrene itself will be very suitable to be paired with Castorice, Evernight, and also Hyacinth, and play with for Remembrance. I think Evernight's potential as a main DPS is quite okay, as long as you have her signature Landcon to provide increased damage and additional energy. For other characters that I haven't been able to discuss, they have buffs that are no less interesting but not as overpowered as the characters before. Now for the effects of other characters, you can see it on the following screen. Okay, and now we will move on to the first MEMOSPRITE talent called Waiting in Every Past. Well, this talent also provides information about her MEMOSPRITE, where Cyrene and her MEMOSPRITE have the same HP. That means when Cyrene is defeated, her MEMOSPRITE will also lose. What I think is unique when in the field, this MEMOSPRITE will be considered out of bounds, which means it can't be used as a target by either allies or enemies. For other effects, Cyrene and her MEMOSPRITE will have an additional maximum HP permanently, so that her maximum HP will be large enough without having to have a high HP stat. Then for the next talent called Hello World, it has a pretty good effect where we can remove the crowd control debuff from ultimates when Cyrene summons her MEMOSPRITE. Unfortunately, this effect can only be triggered automatically one time per battle, which makes this talent less impactful for a long time. Don't forget that we will enter the traces section. For the first main trace called Child of Remembrance. Well, although the effect of this trace is quite simple, it has a very good impact, especially for teams that use a lot of remembrance units. Because of the teammate's MEMOSPRITE who has a future, they can continue to give one recollection point to Cyrene every single turn. Of course, this effect will be very useful if you are using team members with Remembrance Path. If not, then the effect of this trace is completely useless, guys. Then for the second trace called Ripples Across Time. Again, this trace will benefiting Remembrance characters and also Chrysos Heir, because as we know, all characters with the Remembrance Path have the same faction with Chrysos Heir, which makes this character even more exclusive to that faction. Indeed, this is a considerable weakness of Cyrene, where if she is used together with teammates outside of Chrysos Heir, it will be even more difficult for her to get recollection points. For the third trace, which is called Causality in Trichotomy, it has an effect that is useful for increasing the damage of all team members, as well as the damage of Cyrene itself. At its maximum, Cyrene can get up to 120% ice resistant penetration as long as you have 240 speed points on Cyrene. Of course, this is quite impossible if used in modes such as MOC, Purvation or Apocalyptic Shadow, so these numbers can only be achieved in certain modes such as Divergent Universe or Simulated Universe. So, with this effect as well, we have to have at least 180 speed points on the Cyrene for the effect of this trace to be active. Finally, we get into the final part of her kit. It's about her Eidolons. For the first Eidolon, Epics Born on a Blank Slate. This Eidolon has a very helpful effect in filling up her recollection points. This Eidolon will grant an additional 6 recollection points every time Cyrene uses the Minuet of Blooms and Plums after activating Ode to it and increases the number of bounces generated. With the addition of recollection point she gets, it will at least help Cyrene get her ultimate faster. Then for the second Eidolon, A Tomorrow in 13 Shades. It has a very overpowered effect and is crucial for her. How could it not? This Eidolon can help Cyrene activate her ultimate at the beginning of the battle, where since the beginning of the battle, she already has 12 recollection points without having to do anything. In addition, the true damage buff by her zone will also increase every time a teammate gets a special effect from her MEMOSPRITE skill. This will greatly benefit permanent buff effects like Castorice and Evernight. Next, for the fourth Eidolon named Please Ride On with a Smile. This Eidolon focuses on increasing Cyrene's personal damage by providing an additional damage multiplier from the bounce effect of Minuet of Blooms and Plums. This effect will certainly not have an effect on teammates and will feel less worth. For the last Eidolon, named Remembrance Sung in Ripples, it had a quite broken effect. This Eidolon can make all team members get a turn at the beginning of the ultimate activation. Then attacks from Minuet of Blooms and Plums can also provide some additional benefits depending on the number of rolls. These benefits are in the form of reduced enemy defense and also advanced teammates action. Of course, for whalers, the effect of this Eidolon is quite good, especially to increase the rotation of your team. Then now we will talk about her build, guys. For the Lightcon option, the first one of course falls on her signature Lightcon called This Love Forever. This Lightcon will give her a very suitable effect such as an increase in speed, as well as a debuff to increase the damage that enemies receive, as well as critical damage buff for team members. Both effects can also be easily activated by using the MEMOSPRITE skill on teammates as well as on enemies. If you don't intend to take this signature Lightcon, you can use Memory's Curtain Never Falls, which you can get through the Herta shop. This Lightcon can be a very good alternative, because increasing user speed will be very useful to reach the breakpoint of the speed she must have. In addition, this Lightcon can also provide an increase in damage to all teammates every time a user rolls out a skill. Unfortunately, this effect will only be active before she launches the first ultimate, because after that, she will continue to launch her enhanced basic attack. We will also discuss the best relic and ornaments for her, guys. Since Cyrene is a support type character, the 4 sets of World Remaking Deliverer can be the best choice. This relic can provide an increase in the user's critical rate, maximum HP, and MEMOSPRITE as well as damage increase buff for all teammates every time a user casts a basic attack or skill. Of course, this effect can be maximized well by Cyrene itself. For the planner ornament itself, it's best to use the latest ornament called Amphoreus, the Eternal Land. This ornament will further increase the user's critical rate as well as the speed of all teammates when the user is in the field. As we know, Cyrene's MEMOSPRITEs will continue to be in the field after being summoned and make the effect of this ornament permanent. Oh yeah, for the status recommendation that you can use are as follows, guys. Okay, now we will get into the discussion, which is more worth taking between her signature LC or her EIDOLON one. As I said before, her signature LC offers effects that are quite interesting, guys. This Lightcon provides a super drastic increase in speed, because we must remember, Cyrene needs at least 180 points of speed, so that her trace can at least be active. This trace is quite important as it can increase the damage of all allies by 20%. So obviously this Lightcon is very helpful. However, if you don't want to get this LC, there's actually another solution, namely a Lightcon called Memory's Curtain Never Falls, which offers a slightly lower speed but you can get it for free. So in short, her LC is indeed very worth getting, but it's not mandatory if you have Stellar Jade limitations. But keep in mind that this Lightcon effect will only be active before she casts the first ultimate, because after that, she will continue to cast her enhanced basic attack, so that the increased damage increase effect from this Lightcon will not take effect, unlike her signature Lightcon which can continue to be active. As for the first EIDOLON, it grants an additional 6 recollection points every time Cyrene uses the Minuet of Plumes and Plumes after activating Outwit and increasing the number of bounces generated. With the addition of recollection point, it will at least help Cyrene get her ultimate faster. So, in my personal opinion, her EIDOLON offers a much better effect, because with a faster ultimate, she can give an earlier support effect to team members, which has the potential to speed up defeating enemies. Without this EIDOLON, Cyrene would potentially have a hard time while triggering her ultimate, and would lose momentum in the fight. So, is Cyrene worth taking in the upcoming 3.7? In my personal opinion, although Cyrene can give a very strong buff to all team members and give a special buff to the characters of Chrysos Heir, she does not good as well as other key support characters for the team outside of Chrysos Heir. But of course, the buffs she provides will be very worth it at this time, when almost all characters from Chrysos Heir become meta in almost all existing endgame lineups. But unfortunately, behind her very good kit for Chrysos Heir's character, she will also have a usage limit. That is, if no new Chrysos Heir character will appear in the future, then her special buff effect will also be limited, due to the lack of combination of Cyrene kits with characters that will appear in the upcoming version. Okay guys, maybe that's all for now. Do you intend to take Cyrene in the upcoming version? Please type in the comments down below, and don't forget to check out my other videos because they are no less cool. Thanks for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video.